Hello, I'm Sarah from Truth, Lies, Betrayal. Welcome to Horror After Dark. Turn down the lights, keep an open mind, and prepare for tonight's nightmare. Let's begin.
I never believed in curses, covenants, or anything that sounded like it belonged in a cheap horror movie. That changed because of a woman named Eleanor Voss. 3 years ago, I worked as a freelance property photographer. Realtors hired me to take pictures of houses before they were listed. Most assignments were boring empty rooms, faded wallpaper, old furniture nobody wanted. Then I got an email about a property outside a small town in Pennsylvania. The message was short: house vacant, owner deceased, interior photos only, payment doubled if completed same day. That should have been my first warning. The place sat at the end of a dirt road, hidden behind dead hedges. It wasn't abandoned exactly, it looked maintained, but only enough to keep it standing. A black sedan was parked outside. An elderly woman stepped onto the porch before I even got out. "You're late," she said. I apologized and explained I was there for the listing. She stared at me. "No, you're here because she chose you." I laughed awkwardly. She didn't. Eventually, she introduced herself as Mrs. Holloway, the neighbor. She handed me a brass key. "The family doesn't come anymore." I asked who Eleanor Voss was. Mrs. Holloway looked at the house. She was a widow. That was all she said. Inside, the house felt wrong immediately. Not haunted. Not cold. Occupied. Furniture remained untouched. Teacups sat on tables. A knitting project rested in a chair as if someone had stood up halfway through. I started shooting. Living room, dining room, stairs, everything normal. Until I reached the bedroom. Above the bed hung dozens of framed photographs. Every picture showed the same woman, Eleanor, but each photo had a different man standing beside her. 20, maybe 30 men. Different years, different clothes, different faces. Each man wore a wedding ring. Every photo ended the same way. The next frame beside it showed Eleanor alone. I checked the dates. Each husband disappeared after only a few years. I told myself she remarried repeatedly. Still felt strange. Then I noticed something. The final photograph, dated only 6 months earlier. Eleanor stood beside a younger man. Me, I dropped my camera. I had never met this woman, never seen this house. But there I was, wearing the same jacket I had on that day. I backed out immediately. That's when I heard movement upstairs. Slow footsteps. One step. Pause. Another. I knew nobody else should have been there. I called out. Nothing. Then I heard a woman speaking softly. Not from another room. Right beside my ear. "You came." I spun around. Nobody. I grabbed my equipment and ran downstairs. The front door wouldn't open. The knob turned. Nothing moved. Behind me, footsteps. Slow, measured, coming down the stairs. I didn't turn. I pulled harder. Then I heard her voice again. "Don't break the covenant." I finally got the door open and stumbled outside. Mrs. Holloway was standing exactly where I'd left her. She looked disappointed. "You saw the wall." I asked who Eleanor was. She sighed. She lost her husband in 1931. I said I didn't care and started walking to my car. Then she said she prayed every day to never be alone again. I stopped. Mrs. Holloway continued. "One night she answered a knock at the door. I turned back. She looked pale. She remarried. Again and again. I asked where the husbands went. She said the covenant kept her from becoming a widow. I stared. What does that mean?" Mrs. Holloway looked at me for several seconds. Then, she said quietly she never outlived them. I left. Deleted every photo. Blocked the client. Forgot about it. Months passed. Nothing happened. Until one evening I opened my mailbox. Inside was an old photograph. No return address. It showed Eleanor standing in front of her house. Beside her stood a man. Older, gray hair. Thin, but unmistakably me. Written on the back in faded ink, "Thank you for honoring the covenant." I haven't married. I don't keep photographs of myself. And every year on the same date I got that assignment, someone knocks on my front door once. Just once. I never answer. Because I realize something that still keeps me awake. The date on that final photograph wasn't 6 months earlier. It was 6 months from now. Here's a shorter version. I never believed in witch stories. Every town has one, and ours was Brier Lake. People said 3 women once lived in a cabin beyond the lake. Livestock vanished, lights appeared over the water, and campers heard women talking outside their tents. No one had proof. By the time I was 19, Brier Lake was just a place for dares and videos. That's why my friend Daniel suggested going. It was late October, cold enough that the lake looked black after sunset. Daniel drove. Our other friend Mason came too. The plan was simple: walk around the lake, maybe find the abandoned cabin people talked about, record some footage, leave. We arrived around 8 p.m. The parking lot was empty except for an old pickup truck with no plates. Daniel joked about it. Guess the witches beat us here. We laughed, at first. The trail around Brier Lake wasn't difficult. Mostly dirt and dead leaves. The deeper we walked, the quieter everything became. No insects. No birds. Just wind. About 20 minutes in, Mason stopped. "Do you hear that?" We stood still. At first I thought it was water moving. Then I realized someone was speaking. Very quietly. Multiple voices. Not singing. Talking, too far away to understand. Daniel grinned and started walking toward it. I followed because turning back would have felt stupid. The voices led us off the trail. After another 10 minutes, we found the cabin. It looked wrong. Not abandoned. Old but maintained. No broken windows. No collapsed roof. There were lanterns hanging outside. And smoke coming from a chimney. Daniel whispered, "Someone actually lives here." Then we heard footsteps. All 3 of us froze. The cabin door slowly opened. An elderly woman stepped outside. Gray dress, long white hair. She looked at us and smiled. Evening, her voice sounded completely normal. Daniel apologized and said we got lost. She nodded. Then she looked behind us. Not at us, behind us. And asked, "Did you bring the 3rd one?" Nobody answered. She looked confused. Then said quietly, "Oh," and walked back inside. Daniel laughed nervously. That was weird. Mason didn't laugh. He kept staring into the woods. I asked what was wrong. He pointed. About 50 feet away, standing between trees, were 2 more women. Identical dresses, completely still, watching us. Daniel immediately said we should leave. Nobody argued. We started back. 5 minutes later, Daniel stopped. "Where's Mason?" He'd been behind us. Now he was gone. No footsteps, no noise, just gone. We shouted his name. Nothing. Daniel called his phone. It rang, not behind us. Ahead, we followed the ringing. It led us back to the cabin. The phone was sitting neatly on the front porch, still connected. Nobody spoke. Then the front door opened again. The same woman stood there. She looked disappointed. "You left one behind." Daniel grabbed my arm and ran. I don't remember much after that except branches hitting my face and hearing footsteps behind us. Not chasing. Walking, slow, keeping pace. At one point I looked back. 3 women, far behind, not getting closer. Not falling behind, just walking. Daniel and I reached the parking lot. The old pickup was gone. So was our car. We both thought Daniel forgot where he parked until we found it. Parked sideways near the exit. Driver door open, keys hanging. Inside the windshield, written from the inside in fog, was, "Thank you." We drove out immediately. Daniel called police. Search teams came the next morning. They found our trail, found the cabin. But nobody was there. No furniture, no chimney, no lanterns, just an empty shell. Mason was never found. Officially, he's a missing person. People asked if we got separated, if he ran off, if we made the story up. Daniel stopped talking about it completely, moved away 6 months later. I stayed. A year after it happened, I went back once. Middle of the day. The cabin was gone. Only open woods remained. Near the edge of Brier Lake, someone had stacked 3 stones. Under them was a folded note, 3 typed words, "Come back complete." I never returned. And I never say Brier Lake has witches. Because I don't think that's what they were. I just think whatever lives there notices when one leaves missing. I never believed in ghosts, curses, or stories people whispered at funerals, but after what happened 2 years ago, I stopped arguing when people said the dead should be left alone. I work in a small funeral home outside a quiet town. Nothing dramatic ever happened there. Most days were paperwork, preparing services, and helping families through the worst moments of their lives. That week was different. A woman named Elaine Mercer died suddenly at 46. According to the report, she suffered a heart attack while alone at home. No signs of foul play. Her family was small, just a younger sister and a few distant relatives. I was the one assigned to prepare her. I remember thinking she looked strangely peaceful. Too peaceful. Her eyes had been closed, her hands folded, but there was something uncomfortable about her expression, like she had fallen asleep while trying to say something. Still, I ignored it. The service was normal. Closed casket, short speeches, quiet tears. By sunset, she was buried. That should have been the end. The next morning I came into work and found my supervisor standing at his desk with a face so pale I thought somebody had died. He looked at me and asked, "Tell me exactly which body you prepared yesterday." I laughed at first. Then he turned his monitor toward me. Another woman. Same age. Similar appearance. Her name was Natalie Cross. The hospital had made a mistake. Their tags had been switched. We buried the wrong woman. I expected panic and legal problems. Instead, my supervisor just kept staring at the screen. Then he quietly said something I still remember. "They found Elaine." I frowned. "What do you mean found?" He swallowed. "In the morgue." I didn't understand. Elaine's body had already been buried. But according to the hospital, Elaine had never left. Her body was still there, which meant the woman we buried was Natalie, a woman nobody had claimed yet. Everything stopped. Phone calls started immediately. Arrangements were made to exhume the grave and correct the mistake before the family found out. By late afternoon, me, my supervisor, and 2 cemetery workers were standing around the grave. Cold wind, gray sky, nobody talking. The digging took longer than expected. Eventually, the casket appeared. We opened it, and for a few seconds, nobody moved. Because inside was Elaine, not Natalie, the correct woman. I felt my stomach drop. I knew what I had prepared. I knew whose paperwork I signed. I knew whose face I saw. But inside that coffin was Elaine Mercer. My supervisor looked at me like I had done something impossible. One of the workers joked nervously that maybe we had opened the wrong grave. We checked. Correct grave. Correct marker. Correct burial record. No explanation. Everybody became quiet. Then one of the workers pointed. Elaine's hands. They weren't folded anymore. They were pressed against the inside of the casket lid, like she had been pushing. That was enough. The casket was closed, and nobody said another word. Officially, there was no mistake, no report, no investigation. The hospital somehow changed records, and the whole thing disappeared, at least publicly. But it didn't end there. 3 nights later, I stayed late to finish paperwork. Around 9 p.m., I heard knocking. 3 slow knocks. From the preparation room. Nobody should have been there. I grabbed my flashlight and checked. Empty. Then I heard it again. Knock, 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 not from the door. From one of the refrigerated compartments. I stared at it. Number 14. Empty. At least it was supposed to be. I opened it. Inside was nothing, except a folded funeral card. Elaine Mercer. On the back, someone had written in shaky pen, "You left her there." I dropped it immediately. My supervisor checked security footage. Nobody entered. No footage showed anyone placing the card. The next morning I quit. A month later, I heard my supervisor retired unexpectedly. He never explained why. But one night he called me drunk and said something I wish I never heard. He said they eventually found Natalie. Not at the hospital, not at another funeral home. They found her records, but no body. Then he said, "You remember Elaine's hands?" I said yes. He stayed silent for a second, then whispered her fingernails weren't broken when we buried her. He hung up. I never answered again. Sometimes I still think about that grave, and I wonder if we buried the wrong woman. Who exactly did we dig back up?
Hi, it's me, Sarah. The story may be over, but some nightmares never truly end. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to join us for more terrifying stories here on Horror After Dark. And remember, sometimes the things that scare us most aren't hiding in the dark. They're already inside the house. Good night, and sleep carefully.